Yep. Okay, good evening. We'll call the meeting of the Human Rights Commission to order at 5:30. As we gather today, we acknowledge that Eureka, California is ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We honor all Indigenous people and territories and sovereign governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We gather with respect and gratitude to these Indigenous people. We thank and honor the Indigenous caretakers of the land who continue to cherish and protect it. The elders who have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all of the people who live on it. We encourage all to align with and follow the lead of local Indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. And with that, we'll go ahead and do the roll call.
Okay. So today we're missing Aaron, Lisa, Lisa. Sorry.
I heard Alyssa. I heard it.
Nazanin is excused.
Nazanin is excused. Larry, present. And Jamie, here. And Jim. Here.
Here.
And Alyssa. Yes. And Carol.
Yeah.
And Nazanin is excused and I am present.
And Bird is excused.
And who's excused?
Bird is excused.
And Bird is excused. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we have at least 5 people, so we are at quorum.
Great,
So we can
thank you.
continue.
I don't know, did you capture Guy?
Oh, and Guy is on Zoom today.
Unfortunately, Guy, you realize that you have no voting ability, but you can certainly participate in the meeting.
No problem.
Okay,
I didn't see anything on the agenda that you were going to vote that was going to change the planet. So
very good. Speaking of the agenda, are there any requests to adjust the agenda? Being none, I have no opening notes. And the minutes of the June 1st meeting were sent out for review. Carol?
I was gonna say, I had missed, item, I corrected the Kimberly. I also.
Fernando Paz.
I paused and put in his name, which I did, and then we were missing a motion maker. Motion number 2, Blank moved to pursue adoption to develop an internship with the Department of Resources.
Nathan.
Was it next?
I think there was.
Okay. Okay, other than that.
Any additional corrections or additions for the minutes? If not,
Bird probably has some.
she's already communicated her. She always does. All
I
right.
would get Bird and Junior.
And since you are with us, Guy, do you want to give the treasurer's report?
yeah, not a problem. It's pretty brief. The current balance, although it won't exist for very long, is $926.92. But I just sent out a check, which will bring it back down again. We've had a couple of expenditures in the last week. One of them is for our Zoom account. We have an annual Zoom account, and the other one is going out to the Eel River trafficking bill that we got, the invoice. And that's about it. Otherwise, it's been pretty quiet.
Any questions for Guy?
Please.
Do I need to, indicate on the minutes what the check amounts were for those things?
You could, but I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, but only thing I would add to it is I had talked to Jim earlier about it, and we've both been in touch with Ian Goebel. I wanted to, and I haven't heard back from him. He said he was going to check with the county to find out whether we have a Zoom account that we're getting from the county, because I'm just concerned that we're going to have some duplication, and I want to make sure we don't, because we don't have a lot of funds to be spending.
Okay, thank you, Guy.
Yep.
At this point, we have time for public comment. The public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes. Pursuant to the Ralph and Brown Act, Commission may not act on an item not appearing on the agenda. Comments received by mail will be presented by the chair. Is there any public comment from the room?
Not for me.
Okay. I see a hand up from Maggie Kraft. And please go ahead. You have 3 minutes to make your presentation.
Great, thank you. Hello, I'm Maggie Kraft. I'm with the Area 1 Agency on Aging. And I thought I would come to your meeting today to briefly share a concern I have, just to get it in your awareness, and perhaps there is something that we could work together to address it, but I'm not sure. But I just think people need to realize this is happening. We know that there are advocates that go into nursing homes and long-term care facilities and residential care to advocate for the residents who are having problems of care or other types of problems in those settings. And that's a long-term care ombudsman. But what I've recently come across as a result of the earthquakes in Rio Del, when some of the lower income residents of some senior housing and other housing had damage done to their homes, is that there really isn't anybody who is advocating for low income renters in a way that really protects them. I've reached out to legal services. They're very limited in their scope, and they have to be have a legal relationship with the clients, residents, one-on-one. But what I'm seeing, when you see a situation where the treatment from one, management company towards the residents is consistently, in my mind, egregious, and they really don't have anywhere to turn. I've referred them to Adult Protective Services because there were people on the property that were a danger to others due to mental health issues or drug issues. I referred them to law enforcement, referred them to the USDA housing, and it's just nobody's there to, and I have no authority to make these management company do anything. And I just realize how many low-income renters there are, and seniors and people with disabilities in our communities. And I just think it's something that we need to be aware of and look at. And I'm still trying to figure out how to address it. And in a way that they're afraid they're going to lose their housing. They're afraid that if they complain, they'll lose their housing, and they can't afford to do that. So I don't know time-wise, but I think I'll wrap it up there. And I appreciate your hearing me today. And I may do some follow-up. I'm not sure the structure for this, but I wanted to share my concerns with you at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. We normally can't comment on public comment, but if you were to put in writing in some fashion to the Human Rights Commission what you see as the problem and what you foresee as maybe what we could do about it, we would be glad to receive that and bring it up on another agenda.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
Can we ask questions?
If it's an agenda item, we can engage in more of a serious conversation with you.
Yes, I understand that process. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment online? Saw another face there briefly. Oh, it was? Okay. Well, hopefully she'll rejoin us. Okay. Commissioner communications. We have no emails or regular mail to report this week. Any commissioner reports? This could be the opportunity for you.
In the last week, I've witnessed something that's pretty devastating and heartbreaking. 50 meters away from us is our county jail, and it is absolutely filthy and disgusting. I think that we should take a trip over there and we should ask questions. We should figure out why it is so absolutely dirty. The ventilation system, I went in there, I was in there for 10 minutes and I couldn't breathe. I was having burning in my chest. So I can't imagine living in that environment. Or the effects that visitors could have on visiting their loved ones. The windows in the visitation area are filthy. There is like, I don't know what slime goo, there's handprints, it's appalling that we live in even a country, a city, a county that is allowing what looks like a third world environment. I have a call out to Sheriff Hansel. I'm hoping that he will respond and we can have a conversation. I also have been helping an individual, and I want to read a letter that I received this week from this individual. We've had conversations. Just for an example, going into visitation and talking to this person, it looks like when I walk through the visitation, it looks like a zombie apocalypse. The place is filthy. There are maybe 2 chairs for 12 booths. The chairs are flipped upside down. They have filth on them from years pre-pandemic. It is so disgusting. It's disturbing. And I challenge everyone in here to go visit. Just walk in there for a second. Just look around. Make a presence known.
The grand jury has a vested responsibility and looking into this. There was nothing in the last report about conditions. I haven't been in there personally, for 2 or 3 years.
And we were discussing, Jim and myself, and we were discussing that maybe the 3 of us should go and have a look around.
Well, I was actually on my talk about when we got to the correctional facilities point. I was going to suggest that the commission have a
field
tour of it, and we have in the past.
Yes.
I would think that have you went before?
I've gone twice.
Twice, yeah. And Lieutenant Christensen is probably really, the hands-on guy, that we need to, make aware of this situation. I kind of feel bad. I've been dealing with the jail has always been on the phone.
But I don't even know that it's making people aware. They obviously know the conditions, because when I talk to staff over there and I ask them, what is going on with this? Why is it so filthy? They staff addressed their concerns with me and said, we have put in requests after requests and work order. And we've got several people who are staffed to be custodians and are not doing the jobs. They're not answering the requests. So even the staff are having problems getting their own facilities.
Well, I know that the staff is changing quite rapidly.
Right.
Rapidly. We now have to report on. We have a new liaison, Bella.
Right.
She's needed.
Well, moving on. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and we'll have to talk about that too. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna mail it. So I wanted to read this letter that I received, from this individual, and, I'll just let you make your own determination. This is a portion. Things are a bit of a challenge right now. They put me in the hole, allowed out only once a day for 30 minutes. They tried to set me up several times already. One time they put me in the cell with someone who threatened to kill me the last time he saw me in here. When the doors shut the other day and the guard walked away, he practically peed on himself. I never had the desire to fight him before or now, and I told him so. A few minutes later, we were bantering back and forth, no worries. It clearly wasn't what the guards were expecting, so they moved me to a different cell. No window, no view of the TV, just the filthiest concrete box I've ever been in. Seriously, it was so bad that I was sick for my first couple of days. Disgusting. Oh, and did I mention that we aren't allowed to use our blankets to keep warm from 7 a.m. to 9:30 p.m., locked in a concrete ice box without being allowed to keep yourself warm?
Yeah.
That sounds like torture. That sounds like a third world country. And I think we need to investigate. We come here month after month and we have discussions and we talk and we plan, but something that is so close to us. And I think sometimes we're out of sight, out of mind on situations like this. And I feel terrible because I work in the area, I live in the area, and I never once thought I should go check it out. I should see what's going on. I just trusted.
Yeah, and and there's, I've been, working with the personnel and, for quite a while, and there's always other sides to the story, and sometimes some of the big inmates, and over exaggerate the situation. Yeah. Number one, the staff that I've worked with seem to be well-meaning individuals trying to do the right job, very severely understaffed in terms of personnel. I don't know. I would think that might have some effect on something like cleanliness. So, again, every human being has the right to, be in an environment and is, healthier than what you're, talking about. And I have had some of, the conversations with inmates about some of the staff doing things that, that are of a similar nature. It hasn't been a lot of that. And I didn't. I'm not, again, it's not my role or actually your role, to judge these things because there are so many factors. But letting going to whoever the sheriff has said many times that he's really appreciative of the Human Rights Commission, and I think he would certainly like to hear this, to be aware of.
But I would say that I think they're wrong in saying that it's not my role to judge. I'm a citizen first and foremost, and I am protecting other citizens. And when I walk into that field, I am judging 100%.
So I think, what I'm hearing is that it's absolutely disgusting, but to come out of it from an angle of possibly accusatory without acquiring further information.
I'm looking at the fact, I'm just looking at the dirt. That's all I'm looking at. I'm reading a letter that I got from someone that's in there. That's their experience. I can't discredit their experience. I'm reading what they said. I'm not judging. I'm just saying we need to check it out because we need to know what the facts are and we can't put outside.
Absolutely.
I think my suggestion would be that since you, Kim and myself are the liaison to the jail
And
Guy, that's right. We should work up a date and a time that works for all of us.
I would love to. That would be great. I'm just wondering if the supervisor somehow should be, the buck stops again.
Let's do an independent look first, and then we can decide if other steps need to be taken. Guy, are you still there? Guy, you might have already done this tour as part of the grand jury, but would you be willing to, pay a visit to the jail, in the near future if we can arrange it with Dwayne Christian?
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll try to make the arrangements. It sounds like it's something we shouldn't leave to wait very long. And we certainly don't want to necessarily tip our hand as to what we want to see until we're there. Is that acceptable?
Yeah, although, I mean, my thought was that, I believe you in terms of the law, in terms of the film, that was not what I'm thinking about, difference. That's something that, it seems to me, we should, let them know why we're doing it. We're not gonna, sneak in, and look at things. Why not tell them that we've had some concerns and stress about the planning of the facility, and we'd like to come and talk to you about it and see how they go.
And I think that's fine. I just don't think we broadcast in advance what our concerns are, because things can get cleaned up.
Well, I think that then maybe we ought to do that and wait,
Threatening
once a week if necessary.
that might work too.
I mean,
Sure.
I was gonna say, I have a brother that was in prison, and I have a brother that's in law enforcement. So, looking at both sides, and I don't think it was appropriate to say judging, because we have our experiences. I do believe we need to investigate, and I don't believe we need to announce that you're coming, because it can be clear, and they will do their best. Because the law enforcement wants to look good to the public, as well as the prisoners want to express their views, and sometimes mostly, they do exaggerate because it's too late. But we need to look at both sides. And again, it makes me want to go on my own.
Oh, that's the meeting. I'm with you.
Actually, I think, although maybe the four of us will go, if we set a time, we'll let everybody know that they're also invited to join us as well. Yes.
Whenever I, take down reports from, different clients and to look into a situation or organization, I like to be quiet at first to try to go in and investigate and find out kindly, and as softly, as possible, as much information as possible to really investigate the situation. And then, I find where the truth meets, the reality. And then when you find that one, then you move forward, right?
That's what I've done already. So, I mean, I've done that. I went first time, I looked, I made my assessment. I'm like, oh, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing here. So, and then the next time I went, I'm like, okay, I went on a Monday, goopy windows. I went 4 days later, the same goopy, but now it's more goop. So they haven't been cleaned since that day, and then that's when I started asking staff questions. I'm like, I gotta ask you, why is this happening? And when staff is telling me that they put in requests, I said I was part of the Human Rights Commission. They said, please help us, please do something. So,
Well,
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I'm coming from a different perspective, and I don't think anything done is inappropriate or.
I'm just adding to the conversation. I'm not saying that you need to say something wrong. I was just including what you said.
Okay, because it seemed like what I said.
we're getting into side conversations here. I will notify everybody of date that appears to work for Dwayne Christian. And I'll be in touch with everybody to see if we can maximize our presence and do some good.
Yeah,
Well, thank you for sharing
Thank you.
the story we needed to hear.
I think, just the fact that we're coming and stuff about, I'm gonna be, they're gonna be cleaning up anyway. I
Well-
think just the fact that we're gonna be coming.
We still might see something they didn't prepare for.
Yeah, unless they do, I mean, a thorough, cleaning, there's no way.
Okay, if we can go ahead and move on to the message line report. I don't think we have one from Alyssa yet. We'll have one for the next meeting. It's just skipped around. The next item should be correctional facilities liaison report. Is there anything additional?
Yeah, oh, yeah, well, I did get one call, I believe it was, call made came in and Ellen was on. It's been a long time coming, trying to get it set up, but I did get set up with a young man, who didn't have any issues with the jail per se, but the whole legal system, the tangled webs that he was in. But, what I tell the folks pretty much, my line when someone calls is that number one, we can't provide any legal advice. Number two, I kind of focus on, that getting out that number one, the most important thing, in their life is figuring out what they can do to get out of there. And I suggest, trying to work with their public defender, get the letters of support, and witnesses, try to get their file down that stack, which is on every public defender's desk. I also, try to encourage them to look within the establishment for ways that they can, benefit, programs they can take part, participate in, volunteer efforts, the swap program, anything that they can do to enhance the image that they have. And this, there was really nothing that I could, tell the young man other than, write as much of it down, the problem, the situations that he's facing down as possible to prevent in the long run. So anyway, that's kind of, and he was very appreciative. People you would find, I find that, having someone, concerned person listening to them, that helps too. Also, I wanted to let you know that the jail liaison change has occurred. Adele has gone, the new liaison, he's kind of been working into it now. It's Bryce Arnold is his name. And his sergeant is Sergeant Myers. And the other thing, Kim, I don't know what you did with the gender issues that we were to look into. Did you look into any of that?
Yeah, Sergeant Garcia did respond. So the last meeting we were concerned with what do we do if someone identifies as transgender and they are a female. So we did ask that question and we got an email back from Sergeant Garcia. I'll just read what she said. We do have a policy regarding inmates who wish to identify as transgender variant. Also, we have most of our policies available to the public on the county sheriff website. The section you're requesting can be found under policies and procedures, Humboldt County Correctional Facility Policies and Procedures, section C-011, management of TGV, arrestees, and inmates. We do not have transgender variant specific programs within the facilities. All our inmates have access to our program classes such as CR classes, AA, ministry, etc. I'm unsure of any specific services available within the county. However, if an inmate sends us a request form asking of such services, the program's office would research and reply back what we found available. So
downloaded a copy of the C-111, 6 pages. I thought one of the most enlightening of the 6 is what they call the voluntary gender identity statement of preference form. Real quickly, can I just kind of read the opening? That is the policy of the Humboldt County Correctional Facility: receive, evaluate, house, and provide secure, safe, and humane custody of all persons who are lawfully committed or held to confinement by HCCF until a lawful and appropriate release or transfer to another facility. Every inmate, including each transgender or gender non-conforming inmate, will be individually assessed and provided appropriate housing based on classification standards designed to provide safety, security, and the ability to access access. And this is a form that is available to any inmate that would like.
Is it readily available?
Is it readily available?
I mean, do they have to look for it? Do they have to know about it?
Good question. I'm assuming it, there's a whole, there's 6 pages of policies and procedures. Again, I'm sure it sounds good on paper, and how that translates in reality is a whole different thing. We've had one, I think, in fact, the reason this was even sparked, we had one inmate that had some issues that he did not feel that was appropriately addressed concerning.
I would love for us to, when we do our visit, just out of the blue, bring that up and see where they have to go to get the information.
Yeah.
Because if it's
Yeah.
not readily available, it's not really.
Well, yeah, they don't have computers and they don't have access to that.
Right.
That's correct, the password they have to know is there, right?
Right.
And then on top of that, we would even have to know their outcomes to know if any of those, applications were submitted and if any actions were taken.
Mhm. Mhm. Well,
Okay.
and only feedback from the inmates themselves. And I think that's about it. We're all 4 of us are all officially, with the right forms have been submitted. I apologize for that.
No, that's okay. Did you see what the form, the one, I did it online, and the one box that was checked, pre-checked, was, have you ever been incarcerated or in jail or whatever? And I couldn't figure out any way to get rid of that. The answer was no. Okay.
Telling you is yes. Can I just
Yes.
say something about the message line report?
Yes.
Alyssa hasn't done July yet because it's early, but did we hear from June? I don't see it in my notes. Because our last meeting was June 1st.
Yeah,
So Guy, I think, did the first half of June and Ellen did the second.
yeah.
Okay, I apologize for
That
that.
was
When
the form.
I redid the agenda, I left that off.
And then we have Kim and Larry signed up for August 1st or 15th and August 16th or 31st. I just saw that.
Yeah, I don't know where my head was at.
We have to be on, was that the
16th through the 31st. 16th through the 31st of August. And do we have a report for June 1st through the 15th?
To be done.
Guy?
It was very quiet. Only one call that I actually got, and it's actually mentioned at the later part of your agenda, so I don't know whether you want me to bring it up now or not, but I will at least mention it. Concern over having somebody who could provide proper translation services. As our community has expanded, I think it's rather important. I put out a note to everybody to find out if anybody, felt real good with conversational Spanish, and basically came up 0. And of course, I'm also concerned that, we have a growing Hmong population as well. So this is something I think we need to address, but that's on your new business.
Okay. And how about the 15th through the 30th?
I also talked with the same person, so I'm glad that's being brought up later in the meeting. Then I got, a call from the jail, which was Larry, and the last part of it was their, reporter had called, and I passed it on to you, Sam.
Who I spoke to yesterday. Yeah. Okay, yeah, that, the reporter she's referring to is, with the time standard. And, he did an interview with me on the phone, yesterday outside of Channel 3. And he wrote an article. I haven't read the article yet, but it was in the Time Standard today, about hate speech and, the various goings on in Humboldt County right at the moment. So I can't tell you what it said because I haven't read it yet, but he quoted me on it. So, all right. And then, we'll get July's report, at the next meeting, and we should get volunteers for September 1st through the 15th and the 16th through the 30th. I'll take the 1st through the 15th.
I'll do the 16th through the 30th.
And I'll make sure that I put it on the typed version rather than any other version. Okay. All right, committee reports, standing committee reports. Our first, is there anything, we haven't had any activity on sanctuary, have we, Guy?
No, we haven't had anything. Again, I've, had calls into Fernando Paz on that. And I'm assuming, because school's out right now, that it's difficult for him to recruit anybody, hoping that once school gets back in session in August, and also with again, another future agenda item we have for today, the festival that's going to be coming up for Independence Day, that maybe our presence can improve considerably.
If you speak to Fernando in the near future, I believe I did turn in an application for us to participate. And I'd just like some confirmation that they expect us and that we'll get some instruction as to what we need to do.
Okay.
Would that be okay?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe send me a note, would you please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, under ad hoc committee reports, cultural awareness committee. Is there
None.
no meeting? Okay. Homeless and behavioral health. Any activity there?
We haven't met, but I'm sorry that Miss Kraft is off already. I'm hoping to get in touch with her. I'm interested in her comments tonight, and we'll talk about it for a future meeting.
Okay, good. Okay, the logo committee provided all of us with 3 options to consider as far as, well, there's 4 options. 1 is to do nothing. And 3 is to choose the one that we like the best. So having said that, I turn the floor over to anybody to make any comment they'd like.
I actually was somewhat surprised that it was okay. I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. The first one and the second one. I like the green. I like the gray. I like the green better, but the gray is good if we don't want to do more colors or cross purposes. That's my opinion. Third one I didn't like because the border was strange.
My feeling was I like the gray tone. And I didn't see much difference between the 2 green. Maybe I kept.
The second green had a border that was fuzzy. It
wasn't
was
complete.
yeah. And I think it was meant to be like a kind of a used look or something, maybe like rusticy, but I think it took away from that.
In case anybody doesn't recall, this is what the gray tone looks like. You had a comment, Alyssa? Oh, okay.
I believe when you looked at it on the phone, the center one was a little not as dark. It's more gray. You can't really see it on here.
It
There's
was,
more contrast to it.
it was interesting. I'll tell you a little bit about the PSA project that happened yesterday, but Channel 3, in their own independent way, came up with a hands gesture as part of what's going to show on the screen. They didn't know anything about this logo. It was just a coincidence. So
From digital art perspective, it's better to go with the green. The clearest green possible with no shading or anything like that. Because that way, whenever you print it out, it's gonna come out crisp. And if you print it in black and white, it really doesn't matter if it's green to begin with. It's a beautiful color and it looks really good. And yeah. So I thought the green was great from the very beginning. It was my favorite one.
other comments? I know what you're going to say.
I'm not gonna say it. I just understood.
Doesn't it say better together? It really does. Come on. It's beautiful. It's hands reaching out to each other. In the forest, it's like, let's be together. Come on, guys.
It's protecting the forest.
Yeah.
It looks like to me.
Oh no. Projection.
Well, let's put it this way. We have awarded the person money for this project. And we need to make a decision. So the chair would entertain a motion for whatever your favorite or whatever your action is that you will propose.
No, it's the second. I'll make the motion to go with the gray.
Great. Yeah. Is there a second? No, I second. I'll second. Is there further discussion?
I think the green was better.
I think we knew that.
What is the process if, I don't know. Somebody's often like, someone makes a motion, most people go with it. But
If we don't, what we do is we gather more information and then we come back for another vote. But the thing is if we just adopt the green one, then whoever likes it gray can just turn it black and white.
But I think we have to vote on the motion.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. And my comment, since we're in discussion, is that the grayscale is more versatile for printing. And there will be more opportunities to print in grayscale than there will be in color. I'm not debating, I'm just giving you my opinion.
Okay, when using it for online purposes or as a logo on PSAs for KIEM, and or any other format is gonna be much more rich and inviting, in my personal opinion, to have it as the gray, because the gray kind of, to me, it just looks like somebody made it black and white and didn't go through the difficulty of getting the color copy.
Okay, you're up.
I picked the gray because of the printing ability, but also because it would be the first attempt. And if it didn't work out, we always have the option to go with another color. And so that's, the gray was more simplistic. It's easier for the first printing. If it doesn't look well, again, then we'll look.
But we wouldn't have to pay another artist, we would have the same basic information.
And what is our plan on what we're gonna use for?
It would replace the county seal,
on
which is not very exciting.
another minute.
Right, I mean, beyond that, is it, I don't see the
Yeah,
harm.
letterhead.
Right, so I don't really see the harm, like if we do just change it and then we want to change it.
We basically have bought the rights to it by awarding the prize. So I think we would have that freedom.
Do we have to have only one? Can we have a print version and a digital version? Like, I mean, I've seen, like, Humboldt has like 8 approved logos. Depending on what you're using them for. So they have a digital media one, they have a print one. Because that would solve that, right? Like if we don't want to print in color, which I totally get.
And if it's the same artist,
Well, we're not restricted by what decision we make now. We can still branch out in the future if we decide we want to. But this gives us a starting point. That's what I meant. Further discussion? Okay, we'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting the grayscale logo, please indicate by voting yes.
yes.
Those opposed? This will be the toughest decision we've ever made.
No hands back up, please. Thank you.
Any abstentions?
I'm abstaining because I can't keep up.
We'll slow down.
You don't have to write down the names.
Okay,
You just have to do them.
okay, that's better.
All right, well, that motion is defeated and the chair will entertain another motion. Or-
I'll make a motion. I make a motion to adopt both 1 and 2. Yeah.
This being one,
Using, 1 is the gray one,
okay,
2 being this one that's exactly the same, but in green. For different purposes. So that using the color one for digital media, the one and the black and white for print.
A second.
okay. All right, any discussion on that proposal? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please indicate with the raising your hand.
5, yes.
Nays?
2 no.
And abstentions.
I assume the last one's all same.
Well, that one is approved.
That was approved.
Yeah.
We have 2 logos. One is in color, one is in grayscale. Compromise. Yes, sir.
Now, the most important thing,
And I
as far as I'm concerned, with logos, is putting them on something. What are we gonna use them for? We've got brochures that probably need to be updated. We've got posters that we should be putting out, advertising our services, other, when we cable, information, on maybe, on a sign or something, a human rights commission sign.
You've given me 5 right there. That's a good start. All right, well, I'm sorry that project took as long as it did, but DOTSO was quite varied for quite a bit of time, and she got that to us, so she'll be pleased to know that we've made a decision. And with that, the logo committee is no longer needed as of the end of the month. Okay, well, that's a good segue into the Human Rights PSA project. You'll be pleased to know that we have recorded 6 public service announcements. We completed the first 6 yesterday. They are for EPI, the anti-trafficking group, the NAACP, REN, which is Rainbow Educators Network, on LGBTQ issues, Tri-County Independent Living, regarding disability issues. I'm leaving one out. I did one for the Human Rights Commission generally. I can't remember.
Oh, Rabbi.
Oh, Rabbi Steinberg, yes. So those are the basic groups that are represented in this first round. The commission, just to remind you, allocated $3,000 for this project. With this completion, we're spending $1,500. So there is the opportunity for a second round, because there's a lot of groups we haven't covered yet. And we'd love to get them indigenous people being
Yeah, I was
one.
gonna say, especially because in California, the Yurok tribe is the largest tribe in California.
Well, originally, this was, another commissioner was going to make some connections for us. That hasn't happened. Yeah, if you know of somebody that might want to get involved in another round, Channel 3 is ready to record those as soon as we can. We need somebody from the indigenous population. We need somebody from the immigrant community, homeless people. We've talked with
Vernon Price is probably the person for the homeless people.
possibly so. I've had conversations with homeless advocates, but she's the one I've had the conversations with, and we're
Desi's family.
0 for 0 so far. At any rate,
And I could talk with, Ted Henderson, he's the chairperson for the Yurok tribe.
good, okay. I'd love to have that representation.
Hernandez, yeah.
Just so you know, it'll be about 10 days before we start seeing these promos on television, but on Channel 6 and Channel 3, on the Redwood News Morning, they have 16 airings. They'll all be in rotation, so you won't see the same one all the time. On the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 11 o'clock news, 7 days a week, there'll be 12 rotations. And I don't know, I'm not sure what a syndication rotator is, but I think that's just during the course of the day, 15 times. That's on Channel 3. Then on Channel 6, there are 15 news program rotations and on a schedule 15 additional times. That's for the first month. So we're going to have 38, 43, 52, 63, 73 spots showing during the first month between the two stations. That is what we spent $1,500 for. However, then they will turn around and run in constant rotation until the end of the year. They didn't give me a specific number, but it'll be really plentiful. So I think we're going to get some good bang for our buck.
In the ball, any of this being shown on?
It isn't yet, but that'll be our next step. One thing we'll also hope to do is anybody that is particularly skilled in social media, we're going to have 6 copies of these PSAs available to be dispersed on Facebook or any of the social media outlets. I'll need a little bit of help with that.
When are we getting the link?
Well, they haven't finished producing the spots yet, but that's what should be in about a week or 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're going to look really nice. They're very consistent. Even though you've got 6 different speakers, they all have the same background. They all end with a slide that shows the hands and says Humboldt County Human Rights Commission, Humboldt, better together. So it looks nice, and I'm quite pleased with it. The project took That's 6
Very
months
good.
longer. Well,
Team up better together.
yeah, she did. Give her that, that's for sure. Anyway, it's a good project. Yes,
I just didn't understand what you meant, we'll get 6 copies for social media.
6 different,
MP, is it an MP?
6 different files?
yeah,
Yes.
6 different, video files.
That we can use as much as we.
Yeah,
As
Got it.
we want you to
Yeah,
exploit it everywhere you can think of. Yeah. Carol and then Ellen?
I'll probably see Ted this Saturday. And when I speak with him, do I have to contact you or?
That would be easiest because I've got the information about what the TV station, I can give him some examples of scripts because a lot of people started with a long lengthy script and we ended up with just a few choice words. And that would give, although the message would be different for a tribe, it would still give them an idea of how to say it, how to get the message across.
Yeah, because it has to be 30 seconds.
Oh, Ellen and then Larry.
I didn't catch the first group that you had mentioned, that you maybe 6, I got 5, I didn't catch the first one that you said. EPM.
EPI was the first, yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that we can come up with at least 6 more groups that we haven't covered yet.
Can we, have shows, like maybe a couple of these at our next meeting, on the,
Oh, good idea.
and then anybody that's tuning in can see them as well.
Good idea.
I'll bring popcorn.
Okay.
I remember popcorn. And I'm sorry, you want the popcorn next.
Okay.
I'm super fast.
Okay. Next report would be the indigenous people. I don't believe there's anything to report there.
Since the PSA is wrapped up, other than possibly getting more individuals for the purpose of streamlining we've got it set up. Maybe should I join a different group?
Well, we'll
Different.
take that up as we develop another committee.
Oh, I mean, well, that's already.
Not necessarily, but if you have an interest in joining, why don't you see me about that and we'll.
I'm gonna make a comment on my report. so.
Okay.
I'm lost.
Oh.
Okay. The next report would be the Junior Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
Yes, that's.
Thank you. So we did not meet because of scheduling with me traveling, and I got back Monday late, and then it was a holiday. So we tried to meet yesterday, but didn't happen. So we did communicate through email. One of the things that we're working on is developing a work plan with a timeline for all the different steps that's phased. One of the challenges, and this is kind of where I've been reflective as I was trying to get everyone together, is that we only have 3 members. On here it says we have 4, but Lyons is no longer there.
That's right.
So I'd actually love a 4th person. Which is what I was like, you should. Because I think we need some help. And this is a pretty heavy lift to get this going. So as far as that, the other thing I've been reflecting on is thinking about, we need to develop a sustainability plan. So we have a committee, even if we get another person, we have a committee to develop it. We really need to think about how's it going to be sustained after that when there's no staff. And I think about that because 2 months ago when I kind of said it'd be great to have another person, nobody was available or interested or people were committed. So then I was like, well, people are committed now, who's going to carry it on, right? Because I think we're going to need a committee or someone to keep it on. So that's the conversations we're having, and we're reflecting on how do we develop a strong sustainability plan before we recruit a bunch of kids and make promises to them. I think that's an important piece. So we're working on this timeline. We're also working on setting up a regular meeting monthly. So it's just like on our calendars and expected because we've had some hard times connecting on that. So, yeah, but I think we have a solid one on our calendar. It'll be more consistent. But other than that, oh, and last time we had sent out some emails. I sent one to HCOE to ask for some support and guidance there. I didn't hear back, so I sent another one, and I did hear back, and I'm setting up a meeting with the assistant superintendent with HCOE to talk about the best strategy for getting schools on board and getting word out to kids and identifying a champion in each school.
That, so many ideas, and we, Tri-County really have a report that was incredibly awesome from the day. And we might be able to tap some of his connections also. Yeah.
I'm gonna suggest, would you like to serve on this committee?
And I would love to, but
Okay.
I can feel it in my soul that this is the right next step.
Okay,
That's great. So that's all for it.
great, thank you very much. The one thing that occurs to me is maybe, although if we have a standing committee, which it sounds like you are in favor of, it would be subject to the Brown Act. If we leave it as an ad hoc committee, you just have to keep resetting your meeting dates and so forth, but it doesn't have that institutional structure that maybe
Yeah,
help with
that's really good feedback.
sustainability. So we might want to think about whether or not this switches to become a standing committee or not. We can take that up at the next meeting.
That would be great. Thanks for that information.
Sure. Okay, under unfinished business, Festejandro at Cal Poly Humboldt is September 16th. We ought to be deciding what it is we would like to do. That's what I was asking Guy about. If he's going to contact Fernando Paz, we'd like to know what kind of activity or involvement we can offer that's different than everybody else's. And of course, we're going to come right back to that same problem. If we have no Spanish-speaking individuals in this group, pretty hard for us to interact with a Hispanic celebration. So any ideas you have, we can really get into it. We can really get into it at our August meeting. Yeah. Yes.
I was just gonna say, so Fernando is working with, I can't remember, I've been trying to remember his name for about 20 minutes. Another person who teaches in the communications department at Humboldt, who's
Rosenthal?
yes, Rosenthal, thank you, who's working to train translators. And so there's a class and there's students who are like learning to be Spanish language translators. And they're gonna be helping support non-Spanish speaking groups after. That's all I'm
glad you.
So I think there will be, when we talk to Fernando, some opportunity to get some volunteers to help with that.
Good. This may be an inroad to our issue of a translator that could work with the commission
Right,
on occasion as well.
yeah, that's great practice for them too.
And as far as activities go, in that environment, Festejandro is a culturally open experience for participation from lots of different people. And I'm actually the outreach coordinator and community advocate at CSL. And in games and in prizes and fun, wonderful interactions. We've got a lot of great stuff that I could probably use. But the problem is with the September 15th is the Tri-County Independent Living Expo, which I'm the lead on, and so participating.
This,
I should have thought of that before I.
this is the 16th.
Yeah, the day after.
Oh, the day after, yeah. Well,
I'll be
we
exhausted.
could still use the ideas if you want to bring them to the next meeting.
Okay, I'll get some ideas.
Things that are doable for a group this small.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we actually are participating in this condo too.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, and Maudie is going and
Okay. All right. That's the only unfinished business I had. Under new business, we have several things. We can act on them or move on, but, the one was to possibly promote a Southern Humboldt outreach meeting. We've done this once before, but it's been 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5.
Yeah.
We had a fairly decent turnout. Michelle Bushnell, the supervisor representing Southern Humboldt, is interested in helping us get a location. Don't know what costs would be involved. Is this something that the commission would like to pursue, or do we have the manpower to do it? People power.
If I could ask, what would an outreach look like?
The last time we did it, it was a regular meeting, but the focus of that meeting was on homelessness because it was a big issue in the area. We could focus on that again, or we could focus on trafficking, which is something that EPI is now getting involved in Southern Humboldt. It could be almost any issue that you think would be especially interesting to the citizens of that area.
Would we have presenters that we would bring with us? Because we're not the specialists of those topics, right? So how would that be? Or are we just asking the people providing input to us?
I think we probably would want, once we establish the theme, whatever that theme should be,
Okay.
then we could find experts that could help us. I think that would be the choice. And I'm thinking October.
Seems like, if I'm remembering certainly, it was more just a meeting to get input from the southern community on human rights issues.
yeah,
Oh, I thought it was
What,
focused.
what kind of human, and obviously homelessness as well, the whole thing about low income rental
Yeah.
abuse is another that is probably pretty, big down there. But my point is that, even though we have a funding source that kind of wants us to focus energies and, down there, we've got other, we got the eastern part of this county, we've got the northern part, up around Oregon, has some real issues in terms of housing and homelessness. And I'm just wondering if maybe, we should focus more on some kind of a generalized form for all the county. We certainly need, in Southern Humboldt, I am I'm on, I'm supposedly, I've been appointed as a commissioner from Southern Humboldt because nobody else was ever, has been, consistent or very interested in performing that role. And because I, in the old days, worked down there on housing rehab programs and actually the old CEDA programs out and employment programs, I have and have a somewhat feeling for the community, but I step aside. I think we could really get some commissioners from that.
Well, Gatso was the commissioner, but she was extremely busy. There's always a reason.
Yeah.
You're always in.
Yeah, well, I don't mind that, but I'm just saying that. I don't know if. We have a lot of other things going on and, to me, like I say, I think that we need to focus on recruitment, Like, we have those colored people, the Native American, is the only, we're all, white. We've had in the past, quite a bit of folks from different,
We term it, BIPOC, Black Indigenous people of color, like when we use it in the conversation now.
Diversity is a big issue and even in the Human Rights Commission.
I'm just wondering how, how we go about working,
And I think I just want to add to that because I know that I was appointed to cover the Willow Creek area. And, when we start talking about different areas, I'm feeling like, I need to help represent that area a little bit better than I do, and I don't go to that area. So I feel like if we're gonna just focus on Southern Humboldt, that we actually need to make a plan to focus on all of the areas that are outlined, like Oric, like Willow Creek, like Rio Del, these little areas that really need to have a voice. And just by focusing on one, I feel like we need to have a plan in place. Need to have a focus, a theme, something that we're going to share that same message throughout the county, and not just in a single place.
We'll keep it. Yes, I agree with that. Keep in mind, once every 5 years is exactly the focus. It's something we haven't done anywhere. We did one in Burnt Ranch. It was just
Bridgeville. Remember Bridgeville, what it was? Yeah.
I don't remember that one, but Lelania and I and somebody else went to, it was just outside Sallier, and we had 2 people there. Granted, we have to decide what kind of outreach works and what do we hope to accomplish with it.
So I go out and I do a lot of outreach in Trinidad, Rancheria, Bigfoot Days, Pupa. And we did Boys with Braids and all sorts of other wonderful outreach events. And I could take information at the very least about the Human Rights Commission and hand it out to people with the outreach that I'm doing for TCL.
All those new brochures we're going to make. And yes, there are opportunities, short of having a meeting, there's still opportunities to distribute stuff. And that's a good point.
Yeah.
We do that. The social work department, we do so much outreach.
Fantastic.
You do, yeah.
That's a good. I'm in support of doing it. I always think showing up is a good thing. And certainly we could always do it better and we could always do it more. But that's not a reason not to do it at all. For me.
I think that it would probably be appropriate to set up an ad hoc committee to explore the possibilities and come back with a proposal to the commission at our August meeting. And with the idea of doing an initial outreach maybe in October, wherever it is. How would you feel about that?
October's kind of end of outreach season.
Well,
At the last,
just hypothetical at this point.
okay, well, the last outreach of the season is pretty much the stand down. That happens in Ferndale. And that's at the end or at the beginning of October. And then with that, it's like all the events, all the health fairs, all of it kind of winds down. So just.
I think that would be.
Although I think we've done our outreach in October, maybe even November before. Aaron,
I'd like, us to consider that, social media is another avenue to achieve effectively outreach.
I didn't hear.
Different ways. Social media, that we should be considering
Oh,
social media
as
as
outreach.
a outreach as well.
Gotcha.
That, the Nazari,
Fascinating.
she was going to actually jump on that, thinking to saying that, I can remember her saying that that was a real issue with her and that she was going to start working on.
He's not feeling well tonight, but I think that she will still want to be involved in that. All right, why don't we leave it there for now? I think that at the August meeting, we'll set up a new ad hoc committee, not tonight. And we'll move on from there. I didn't stay with us to the new business, but have we addressed the translation issue adequately, or he was going to contact Fernando? Okay. And okay. Actually, that brings us to the last item on the agenda, which is Bert had suggested that any items that are put on the agenda have a specific date that they are to be considered, not just future, but date specific. And I think that's probably a good idea. And she also mentioned that Access Humboldt is considering putting together a forum on free speech versus hate speech to be aired locally. And the idea being that the League of Women Voters might be moderating that event, and I think that would be a good opportunity for us to get involved. Every time we've spoken lately, we've had people ready to pounce on us just for saying what we believe is the truth. And I think we can't retreat from that kind of attitude. We've got to embrace it and go meet it head on. And if we can't do that as a Human Rights Commission, I don't know what we would be doing. So we'll see where that goes. That'll be on the next agenda as well. I'm open to any suggestions for other items. Yes, sir.
The follow through on Guy and I kind of concern about low income rentals. I think we should put that on the agenda to see.
And hopefully she will have provided us some more detail. Yeah.
So I don't think she would be able to attend the August 3rd, but she might be able to attend.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Okay, any other agenda items for the next agenda?
I don't know if this is appropriate. More of a health issue. But I think of it as also a human rights issue with the fentanyl and the syphilis. Those are now crises. And I was just informed that within 2 weeks it was fentanyl.
6.
It's really bad. I don't know how that can be related to human rights other than it's the right of a person to and to be educated.
You know, there might be a tie-in though, if you're going to contact Ted regarding Indigenous people. I wonder if there isn't also somebody else who could speak to drug abuse in general, but fentanyl in particular. It could be a separate topic, actually. If you know.
Well, I'm on the board of UIA.
Oh, of course you are. Yeah.
So, I mean,
I wonder if somebody from
yeah,
that organization would be willing to participate in the PSAs? That might help. Yes,
I think what, my kind of feeling is that, what we really need to focus on in terms of some all is Narcan. Getting it out into the places that, need it and can utilize it, that, prevent the deaths.
The problem with some of these deaths, though, they're using a horse tranquilizer now mixed in with the fentanyl, and Narcan won't help it. So the trank is what it's called. So I think that could be the problem with these deaths that are coming up. It's being mixed with some other drug. And Narcan is readily available at the hospital. You can just walk in and pick it up right now. But they have it at the front, you go to the emergency, just ask for Narcan 1 or 2, whatever you need, and they'll give it to you.
And I could even, have someone from UIHS come and do a presentation and give everybody.
we don't have anybody scheduled for August, as far as I know. Why don't you see if we can connect with somebody to do a 10-minute presentation or something? Hey, anything else? Any other ideas you want to bring up at the next meeting? Seeing no hands in the air, I think we'll call this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good work, Joe.